And good morning, everyone. Pardon me. Welcome back. My name is Don K. Preston. I am the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. And this is what I call my morning musings. We're talking about what happens when we die. What happens to the faithful child of God? Now, there are two or three different views in modern evangelical Christianity about what happens to the person, when they die. The tradition that I was raised in may sound a little strange to you, but the tradition that I was raised in is fairly common. Says that when a person dies, even if they're righteous, they have to go to Abraham's bosom. Now, Abraham's bosom is in paradise, or is paradise, which is in Hades. The term Hades is the umbrella term that includes Abraham's bosom, i.e. paradise, but it also contains Tartarus, a place of punishment. Abraham's bosom, i.e. paradise, is not heaven. No one in this paradigm, no one, no matter how righteous, can go to heaven when they die, because there is no genuine forgiveness until the final judgment. Because if we have genuine forgiveness, we have eternal life, and eternal life is not given until the judgment. So that is one view. That is, that Hades still exists, that when a righteous person dies, they go to paradise, and they await final judgment and resurrection. Another very common view in modern evangelical Christianity is that when the righteous person dies, they go to heaven. and this view basically says that when Christ ascended, he took the righteous saints out of Hades and took them into heaven, but it's not really their final reward, because after all, the judgment and the resurrection hasn't taken place. And so the faithful child of God is in heaven. Now, I want you to follow this very quickly, all right? Heaven is seen as the goal of the Christian, the goal of their faith. So when the faithful Christian dies, they go to heaven. But being in heaven isn't enough. They have to wait there 2,000 or 3,000 or a gazillion years or whatever. Somehow or other, even though they're in heaven, they're not complete, even though they're in the presence of God. And so at the at the final judgment, second coming, etc., they come back with Christ to get a body out of the ground that's now been raised, restored, resuscitated, etc., and that's joined back to their spirit, and they get this body that they didn't need to be in heaven where they were, and then they go back to heaven where they were in the first place. All right? Kind of the dog chasing the tail in my estimation, but that's the way it's explained. At that time, that is, at the second coming in judgment, Hades is cast into the lake that burns forever and ever. So in both paradigms, Hades still exists. All right? And there is no genuine, full access to the most holy place until the end of time, because judgment and the resurrection has not occurred. Now remember, according to Hebrews chapter 9, and by the way, I would highly recommend that you get this book, Hebrews from Flawed to Flawless, fulfilled by Tony Denton. Really, really good book, easy to read, very powerful in its presentation. Well, Hebrews chapter 9 tells us, as long as the old covenant system stood valid, catch the power of this, as long as the old covenant system stood valid, there was no access to the most holy place. Do you catch it? To say, therefore, that man, when he dies, does not get to go to the most holy place, that he has to go to Hades, or that he does not get to enter into the full benefit of heaven, i.e. the most holy place, is to say the old covenant system, the old covenant law remains valid and binding today. Let me put this another way. If you believe that Hades still exists, Hades being the place of separation from God, if you believe Hades still exists, the old law still is binding today. If you believe that man does not yet have full access to the most holy place, does not yet have full access to the presence of God, then Torah remains valid today. This simple, profound, irrefutable fact is found in Hebrews chapter 9, 6-10. As long as man was not restored to Eden, as long as the resurrection to take man back into the presence of God, as long as the resurrection does not occur, Torah, the old law, the law of Moses, remains binding. I don't care what your eschatology is. If you say that man has not been restored to the full presence of God in the most holy place, the law of Moses remains valid and binding today. This is an incredible point, and it needs to be grasped by all Christians today. Again, let me recommend Tony Denton's book, Hebrews Flawed to Flawless, Fulfilled. It's on my website. Order the book. Mention that you saw the offer on YouTube or Facebook. No charge for shipping. Be sure to take advantage of the other offers I've been making. My books, We Shall Meet Him in the Air, the Wedding of the King of Kings, in which I discuss life after death quite extensively. My debate with Kurt Simmons, The End of Torah at the Cross, or AD 70, in which these things are discussed extensively. Hey, thanks so much for joining me for this morning's Morning Musings. Hope you have an absolutely fantastic weekend. We'll see you on the flip side.